Okay, cool. We are live. So we've just hit 12:30. So we will give it just a minute or two while people pop in. And as any viewers will see, we have a special guest joining us today, Konstantin from Scale with CFO. How are you doing today, Konstantin? Good?
Very good, very good. Hello, everyone.
Hi, guys. So like I said, we'll just give a couple of minutes while people join up. You got anything fun planned this weekend, Konstantin?
I don't know. I don't usually make plans in advance. I just like this spontaneous thing to plan the
Yep.
day, like Friday evening, and see what I can
Mhm.
do.
Makes perfect sense. I have absolutely no plans apart from being stuck in front of my monitor, laptop, keyboard, whatever you want to call it, all weekend. Client has some urgent forecasting stuff that needs completed by Monday for various reasons. So yeah, I will be working on the forecasting stuff all weekend, and that'll be my fun weekend.
Yeah, today is Halloween, so I was thinking, how should I dress? And I thought I need to buy a wig.
Love it, love it. I thought you already had your Halloween costume on right now.
That was my only good idea this day.
Awesome. Okay, cool. I think everybody should have joined now. That's kind of 1 minute past. So let's kind of kick off. So what we're doing, folks, is we're switching this one up a little bit. So we're going to do a little interview with Konstantin for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20, 25 minutes or whatever. And then we will also do our Ask Me Anything. And Konstantin is going to stay for the Ask Me Anything as well. So you have two fractional CFOs for the price of one here. We will answer your questions. And remember, folks, you can ask us about absolutely anything you want, and you will get an honest answer from us. So let's kick off this little interview with Konstantin. So, Konstantin, to kick off, do you want to just tell us kind of your background and how you got into being a fractional CFO?
Sure. So basically, I started my accounting career probably 7, 8 years ago. It's a common career pathway, do the qualification, do some accounting roles, want to move in financial planning, then you want to scale up with your position in different companies. The reason why I moved to fractional CFO is that I remember I was having challenges to get a CFO role as an employee because a lot of jobs was asking for this Big Four experience and I never had one. So at some point I was like, okay, I'm gonna become a fractional CFO by myself. This is how I start marketing myself on LinkedIn. I actually didn't have much experience as a CFO previously when I started becoming a fractional CFO, but I think like if someone doesn't have that experience, they can deal with that with this role. It's not that different than previous financial manager roles or even accountings.
Yep, makes perfect sense. And in terms of kind of the difference between being a fractional CFO, running your own business, getting clients yourself, compared to working for a company, what did you find the biggest change was being your own boss as opposed to working for a boss?
It's more motivated to work more hours. When you are a full-time employee, you have like 35 40 hours a week and you don't really want to work more. But when you work by yourself, you're always motivated to spend more time doing marketing, scaling your business. So it definitely more excited when you run your own business. And if in terms of finance, when you work for different startups, the work it's much more interesting because even if you work for the same customers in the same industry, the business are still very different and there is a lot to learn about them.
Yeah, for sure. And touching on that point about industry, I believe you focus on SaaS companies. Is that correct?
Yeah. I do only
Cool.
SaaS at the moment.
Perfect. And in terms of SaaS companies, what do you find? So let's say you come in to work with a client as a fractional CFO. What do kind of the first 90 days look like? So what do you do in the first 30 days with the client? What's the next step for the next 30 days? And then where do you hope to get them to at the end of a 90-day period?
Sometimes the first 90 days can be a nightmare because if you landed a big startup, let's say a few million in ARR, and their financials are a bit messy, you need to go backwards and reallocate all the transactions before you implement a new chart of account. So the first 30 days, like one of the recent clients I landed, I spent more than 30 days to restructure their financials. So the first step is actually to tailor the chart of accounts, you implement the chart of accounts, then you reallocate all the transactions, you split the costs, you audit the revenue recognition. SaaS always have issues with the revenue recognition, so you have to fix that. So I would say it takes at least 3 months to fix all the data. After you fix all the data, things becomes very easy. So the next steps, it depends on the founders' priorities. You have either some founders that want to raise some debt, they want to raise some equity, they want to do an exit, or maybe they want to have a better board back. So these are overall the 3 scenarios that I am finding the founders need help with. So it depends on the scenario. This will be the priorities I'm going to focus after the 3rd month.
Yep, makes perfect sense. And in terms of kind of SaaS companies specifically, when working as a fractional CFO for the SaaS company, how might that be different than working as a fractional CFO for, let's say, a marketing agency?
SaaS might sound very easy in terms of financials, but their data can be very messy and give you like huge nightmare, especially with these revenue recognitions. Because you can have a SaaS company selling annual subscriptions, quarterly subscriptions. They'll have different subscription tiers. They'll have recurring revenue, non-recurring revenue. So this revenue you'll have to spend a lot of time on fixing the data, even on regular basis. Like if you want to do a cash flow, doing cash flow for SaaS is not that easy because there's always like a list of subscriptions. For some of them, you already sent an invoice. For some of them, you didn't. So you need to understand like for who you sent already an invoice, what invoice you still need to send. So you need to match that. So like the financials for SaaS, I think are quite a little bit more difficult than just for a professional service firm.
Yep, makes perfect sense. And in terms of working with a client, so who would your ideal client be in terms of engagement? So let's say you were looking to work with a client, who would your perfect client be to work with? What kind of size? What kind of, I guess it would be a SaaS company, but what kind of size? What kind of revenue? Who would be a perfect fit for you?
The perfect will be based on their ARR, which should be at least 1 million ARR. Even though at the beginning I worked for a startup that had lower than 1 million ARR, but it becomes very cost effective if a startup has 1 million ARR and they want to hire a fractional CFO. They have the money to spend on a fractional CFO, but also based on the revenue, like if they have 1 or 2 million in ARR, the financial becomes more complex. And that's the moment when they really need a fractional CFO to fix the data, work on the budget, and the focus. So it's more about the minimum ARR threshold.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Earlier in my career as a fractional CFO, I worked with a few very early stage tech startups, and I always find it quite a difficult engagement because the founders and management team are always being pulled in so many different directions, and kind of finance tends to become less of a priority once the model is built. While if you're working with a kind of more established company, 1 to 2 million ARR kind of thing, that's when finance really kind of starts to come into its own, where we can get into our scenario planning, we can get into our cash flow modeling, and we can really start to kind of link finance to strategy, which in my opinion is kind of always the main thing for a fractional CFO, linking finance to the strategy of that company. And that's a hell of a lot easier to do with a company that is already established. In your case, so for SaaS companies, they've got their seed round, they're maybe a Series A kind of thing. Fractional CFO can add a lot more value there, and also kind of work better on a retained basis month to month. Generally, kind of early stage tech slash SaaS tech slash SaaS startups. It's a lot of S's. Kind of just need kind of project support here and there, build a model, a couple of questions. So yeah, I would kind of agree that kind of 1 to 2 million is where you can get the kind of retained the kind of retainer on an ongoing basis. And in terms of pricing, I'm guessing that's how you work as well, on a retained monthly fee income with your clients, or do you charge them based on a day rate? How do you do your pricing for clients?
I charge them a monthly fee, so it's a retainer a month. I find this very comfortable, both for the founders and myself. Usually founders, if they run a startup, they have a very dynamic environment, and often they have some questions, like they might drop you once or twice a week an email with some urgent questions. So when they do that, I always try to reply like within an hour. That's why one of the reasons founders like my pricing model, because I don't go there like on just on a specific day a week, do the work, and then they cannot reach me. So that's actually very good for them, but it's actually very good for me, because in the same day I can work for multiple clients. Sometimes if you work like 2 hours for one client, you get a bit bored, your brain is not motivated, then you switch to another client. So this, as a fractional CFO, I feel more productive when I can work in the same day for multiple clients.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because a lot of people that I've spoken to before find that quite difficult to do, kind of switching context in the same day between different businesses. So you're working with maybe client A for a couple of hours in the morning, client B a few hours in the afternoon, client C a few hours in the evening. It's quite a difficult thing to master. If you're an accountant, you're kind of focusing on the compliance, but with a fractional CFO, it is a lot more strategic, and you've got to really I always find for myself, if I'm kind of context switching between clients in one day, I'll maybe need like a 20-minute, half an hour break after I finished kind of 2 to 3 hours work for one client, just to kind of reset my brain a little bit and go, okay, cool. That business was doing X, Y, Z. Now I've got to face a whole new set of challenges in a good way for this business that is doing A, B, C. So the context switching can be quite difficult, but once you master it, it really does give you a lot of kind of motivation, like you said. Really gives you a lot of energy throughout the day, facing different challenges for different clients, and it's a great kind of learning experience as well. If you're just working for one company, then your learning is limited to that one organization. Well, as a fractional CFO, you're working with lots of different companies, lots of different challenges, so you learn a hell of a lot in a short space of time. So that is cool. And a bit of a curveball question. So you've worked with a lot of clients, and what's the one thing you wish that every client knew about finance? So, for example, do you wish everybody understood what an accrual was? Do you wish everybody understood what deferred income was? What, like in an ideal world, what would you love every client to understand?
I think that a lot of founders are very confident that their numbers are accurate. And with all the startups I worked so far, I never found one company that had very accurate numbers. So they will have even like this ARR. They will have an ARR in mind, and that ARR will be basically in an Excel file, and they think like, okay, this is my ARR. But then when you go into their accounting software, the numbers tell a different story. So one of the things that founders would know is that if they look at the numbers in Excel, doesn't necessarily mean that's an accurate numbers till you don't go to your accounting software and make sure that actually it's what you have. Like if you have an ARR number in Excel, you should go to your accounting software and double check and see if the numbers match. And a lot of founders would be like, okay, this is my second company. I know how to run my financials very good. But then you go to their accounting software, and that's a whole different story.
Makes sense. 1 second. I've just been informed that we are not actually live for some reason. Very strange. We are live actually streaming here. What's meant to happen with this tool is it connects to LinkedIn and it will automatically stream. And it is correctly linked to LinkedIn. So I am not sure why it is not starting, which is very strange, because I'm on the LinkedIn page now and it's saying this event will start soon, waiting for the host to start it.
Okay, so it was just two of us talking.
Yeah, I think so.
It's fine.
I don't know why that's not starting. That's very strange. 1 second. Join, starting soon. Yeah, everything's linked up correctly. And I did the exact same thing that I did for the last one. Hold on. Ask me anything today, 12:30. It is 12:30. Paired channels, LinkedIn. Very bizarre. Well,
That's okay.
I can't even start it.
There is this button on the top right, add channel.
Yeah, and it's got edit channels. Oops.
I'm back.
Are you back, Cool? I genuinely don't know why this hasn't worked. I don't know. Let me try end the stream and restart it. Maybe that might work.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, cool. I might need to send you a new link. Hold on. Let me end stream. Or do I need to add you as a speaker on LinkedIn or something? I'm just wondering if I need to add you as a speaker on the event in LinkedIn. That shouldn't matter. Oh, hold on. I think we are live now.
But I click on that LinkedIn webinar and still stays this event will start soon.
I think we are live now. Hold on. Let me just check. Let's check. So if I go to my events, Kevin Steele, join. The event will start soon. I was sure we were just live there.
Let me open the LinkedIn from my phone.
Oh, we are live. Mark has just commented that we are indeed live.
Have we been live for the last 17 minutes or just now?
Yeah, we've been speaking away for like 17 minutes or so now. So I don't know if you guys got all of this. Something went wrong with our stream, it seems, which is a bit strange. Very, very odd. Well, I'm not sure if anybody actually heard our interview or not. Anybody in chat? Did you guys hear the last 17 minutes? Mark joined at 12:31 and we were live then. Okay, we're fine. Yeah, we were live.
That's fine.
Cool. Okay, let's just continue where we were at then. We'll maybe edit this part out if possible for YouTube or whatever. But while we're here, Mark has asked us a question. Do you guys do your own accounts or do you outsource this? Also, if you do it yourself, which package do you use? So, Constantine, in terms of so actually, Mark, do we do our own accounts or do we outsource them? Mark, do you mean our accounts as in our accounts for our own companies or our accounts for our clients? And while we wait for some clarification, I will ask another question and we will jump back to that question. So our previous one was, what do you wish every business owner knew about finance, which we answered. And in terms of getting new clients, what do you think is the most effective approach for getting new clients as a fractional CFO? This is a common question that people ask because it's the hardest thing to solve. Trying to get new clients as a fractional CFO. Very, very difficult. But what have you found success with in the past?
I didn't find one single marketing channel that is very successful. I always tried multiple marketing channels. So at the beginning, I was doing a lot of cold emails where I was able to land probably 2 3 customers. Then I've done a lot of cold outreach, like direct message on LinkedIn. I use Sales Navigator. I save those leads, like their posts, sometimes comment on their posts, then do some follow-up messages. So I was doing a lot of this cold outreach, which you can land clients, but it takes a lot of times. Yeah, I don't think that's one channel that can be very good for landing clients. I think you should try multiple in order to increase your chances.
Yep, makes sense. And just to clarify on Mark's question, it was in regards to do we do accounts for our own limited companies? So me personally, I used to run an accounting practice. So I do my own accounts, my own personal tax, my own payroll, my own VAT, all that kind of good stuff. And Konstantin, do you do your own accounts as well?
Yeah, sure, sure. I mean, I come from an accounting background. I have a qualification. It'd be very weird if I delegate this work to another accountant.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Cool. And in terms of your favorite tools as a fractional CFO, what tools could you not live without as a fractional CFO?
So far, probably Fathom is a very good tool when you want to do short-term cash flow forecasts. The founders really like that report that Fathom generates. It looks very nice and very simple. So that's one of the tools I would pick up now.
Cool. Makes sense. And if anybody else in the chat has any additional questions they would like to ask me or Konstantin, please feel free to do so and we will answer. And I will ask you now, Konstantin, do you have any questions you want to ask me?
Sure. What are your plans for the next 3 years regarding scaling your business? I imagine that you want to scale your business, not just work with the current number of customers.
Yeah, definitely. You're totally correct. So I've been kind of working as a solo fractional CFO for quite a while now, and I kind of feel like I've got the operating model nailed down. Really good at client discovery. First 90 days, I know exactly what to do and how to smooth out that process, how things should go, and got pretty good traction on LinkedIn, and I've started doing these kind of ask me anything webinars and a few other kind of webinars kind of things. So everything over, I would say the last kind of 10, 11 months has been getting things in place to scale. So building the foundation of the operating model, because if I'm going to look to build a bigger business, I need to get the structure really solid. If you imagine a pyramid, if the base of the pyramid is not solid, then everything will kind of fall apart. All the top layers will just start crumbling. So this year has very much been about getting the operational engine working, kind of getting the marketing engine more or less set up. I still got a bit more work to do in that point. And for the remainder of this year, we have I think we only have like 10 weeks till Christmas, maybe even 9 weeks till Christmas. Wow. That's not a lot of time until we soon enter January 2026. Scary that it's 2026 already. But yeah, my plan over the next kind of 9-10 weeks is to work more on the operating model, work more on the marketing plan, and then kind of go into 2026 with a view to really start kind of scaling up the business, be a lot more aggressive on marketing, and really kind of push things as much as possible, build a team, grow and scale. And objective would be at minimum to get to $1 million revenue within the next kind of 2 to 3 years. Maybe partner with somebody and maybe get to 2 million revenue in 2 or 3 years kind of thing. And because if you think about the economics of the fractional CFO model, they're very good, because you'll be similar to me, Konstantin. Your kind of fixed costs are very low. All it is some software, some random admin expenses, and then your own salary and dividends. That's about it. And if we worked out and said, okay, the average fee for a client's maybe £3,000 kind of thing. So we did a quick calculation and take £1 million revenue, we divide that by 3,000 kind of thing. You don't need that many clients, off the top of the head, maybe 25, 30, that kind of thing. And
the market is very big, so 30 clients for a UK market is almost nothing.
Yeah, it's almost nothing. And there's two ways to do it in terms of staffing. One way is to hire staff pay as you earn, so salaried people. If I was going down that route, I would pay a fractional CFO maybe 80,000 thereabouts. And if you add the pension, NI on top of that, maybe cost the company might come in at about 95, 100K kind of thing. So if you've got five, let's say 5 members of staff, and you're doing $1 million turnover, that means your gross margin is going to be about 40%. So if staff costs are 50, maybe some other small direct costs, you're going to be about 40%. And then your other indirect costs are going to be very, very little because it would be 100% remote team. So you'd be looking at a kind of net margin of, I would say, high 30s, maybe even 40, maybe even a little bit higher. And that's paying the fractional CFOs a very, very, very good salary. Because I know if I was a finance professional and I got the opportunity to work for a fractional CFO firm, that links back to all the good stuff you were mentioning about dealing with different clients, learning so much about different businesses. You're not just stuck doing the same thing every day. That would be like me 5-10 years ago. That would be my ideal role. Absolutely ideal. I would love it. And it would be such a great kind of learning curve. And one of the key things as well would be not to go for the cheapest talent. I would easily pay 80, 90, 100,000 for an amazing fractional CFO kind of thing, because it's all about the client relationships. And again, linking back to getting the operational structure in place, I now know if I hired a fractional CFO to come onto my team in January, I could train them incredibly quickly because everything's all documented. I've got videos that explain all my processes in the background. The new member of the staff will shadow me on calls with my existing clients, learn how I do things, all that kind of good stuff. So yeah, the only real thing stopping kind of scaling would be nailing the marketing engine, really getting a repeatable process to get clients in. And that's one of the reasons why I'm focusing a little bit more on video, a little bit more on YouTube, to build that repeatable sales process kind of thing to get the clients in. Because me personally, I have absolutely zero doubts in my ability to execute. I'm good at management. I'm good at operations, good at training, good in sales calls kind of thing. I can pretty much do what I need to do. And I know I can train people to do what I do kind of thing.
Okay.
So kind of ideal scenario kind of would be, let's say, around about the 500K ARR mark. We'd maybe be looking to take much more of a back step on the client work and really be doing a lot more speaking gigs, a lot more kind of videos, a lot more partnerships, all that kind of stuff. Try step out of the client work as soon as possible and really focus on that revenue generation, which is absolutely key. Two main things for any founders above kind of 500K is number one, revenue generation, and number two, hiring the right people and giving them the tools, the training, the opportunity, the empowerment to do their job. And I think if you nail both of them, you can build a really successful fractional CFO company. And then there are, of course, other things you can link into that. For example, you could launch a fractional CFO training arm. Once you get up to like 500K million revenue, to train other fractional CFOs how to do it kind of thing. Many, many, many different options. So hiring people in-house is one option. Other option is to subcontract the work to other fractional CFOs. So I would become the marketing engine myself with the company, the brand, the name, and then outsource the technical work in the background to other fractional CFOs, while myself and maybe one or two other people handle the actual client engagement piece of work. So there's a few different ways of doing it. That the subcontracted way would kind of cut margins a little bit, but it would free up more time to really build a marketing engine, etc. So this is the kind of thing I'm planning out in a lot of detail between now and the end of the year, and I will decide on a plan, and I will put together a 3-year timeline, and I will go year 3. This is what I want it to look like. Then I will work backwards from year 3 to year 2 to year 1 to today. Reverse engineer the plan, work backwards, and then work forwards to the plan that has been reverse engineered. So that's what I would say. A very long answer to your question.
Yeah, it was a very detailed answer, which is good. Yeah, I think like if someone wants to scale the business, the key thing is partnerships and going to speaking gigs, being present at different events. Because I think like marketing, cold outreach at the beginning wouldn't be a solution to scale the business. It would be a solution to start the business and get the first few customers. But scaling at least few million in turnover, it's not a viable option. Is there an industry you are focusing on currently?
Yeah, sure. So in terms of my industry, I work not exclusively, but I work best with professional services, B2B companies between 1 to 20 million. So I work with a lot of advertising and marketing agencies. They're really, really fun clients to work with. They face a lot of challenges. The people are great. I really, really like working with advertising and marketing agencies, and a number of other kind of industries in adjacent spaces to that. But like, for example, I would never work with a construction company. I have no idea about construction companies. Couldn't tell you the first thing about them. I don't have the industry experience. I don't have the sector experience. I am not the right guy to help. The same manufacturing company. I have no experience. I would not take on a manufacturing company engagement that runs a factory and does all manufacturing stuff. Never worked in the industry. I'm not the right person to help. Same as a retail company. So somebody's got a group of restaurants, or they've got a store on the high street, or a franchise of retail stores. Not a client for me. I'm not the right one to help. However, linking back to our previous question, if we were looking to scale a business, then ideally the fractional CFOs you would want would be sector specialists. So I would be B2B service specialist. Let's say you would be SaaS specialist. We would want a construction CFO specialist. We might want another specialist kind of thing, because that kind of builds up the talent pool in the company and allows access to different sectors with a sector specialist. So that's how I would kind of broadly think about going around it. But my favorite clients to work with are B2B professional services companies, 1 million to 20 million.
Yeah, I think I agree. Some industries are very different, like working for professional firms, manufacturers, e-commerce, construction. It's super different, and I think it's something that there are some industry that is very hard to learn on your own. For example, if you don't have such experience, you can still get good at it by watching videos, reading content. But I feel like manufacturers, e-commerce, it's more difficult than the other industries.
Yep, I would totally agree. And I will just refresh the chat to see if anybody has any additional questions they would like to ask us. My chat refresh says no for the moment, which is okay. So in that case, I'll maybe ask maybe just a couple more questions, and then we might just call an end to the live stream. For some reason, I was saying to you earlier before we went live, Konstantin, that LinkedIn has been tanking my reach completely recently. To give an example, literally a repost. I posted one post this week that I had posted 2 months ago. The post 2 months ago got about 8,000 views. The post today got like 200 views, if even that. Well, it wasn't today, it was earlier on this week. But the reach has just gone down massively. I don't know if you're experiencing that as well on LinkedIn. Have you seen your reach go down over the last few months?
I always found LinkedIn algorithm very weird. Even if there are there's a lot of content on LinkedIn explaining about how LinkedIn algorithm works. In the last 2 years, I always got a bit low impressions on the LinkedIn posts. My impressions were around 400-500 the post. So it's I never got like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 impression per post. Yeah, it's a bit weird. They need to do something about it because I'm really writing my content by myself, and you see there some AI content written, and they get like thousands, hundreds of likes. It's not a fair game.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Like AI content, it really annoys me on LinkedIn, especially the comments. That's the worst thing where you just know people are just sending AI comments. You're just like, oh my God, I just don't want to engage with this post at all. It's the same when I see like a post that's clearly written by AI. You see like the long EM dash there. I just don't engage with the post at all. Like I will look at a post. If I see any EM dashes or it's obviously been written by AI, I'll just skip the post. I will not read it. I'm just not interested in it. And the same as the comments, AI comments, I just will not engage with it at all. It just completely turns me off. And that's, again, one of the reasons why I'm trying to do a bit more video. It's a bit more real and less kind of AI. Well, who knows? This could be an AI right now. We never know.
You know, one thing I noticed about LinkedIn is that people will read your posts. They might like it, but they will not click on the like button. So I remember I think two of my calls I had in the last 2 years, the founders were like, okay, I really like your post, keep doing it, very, very insightful. But they never click on like button. So I think that there is not this behavior on LinkedIn where people keep clicking on the like button, except like comparing with Facebook or Instagram. So there are a lot of people that actually read your post, but they don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't click on that like button.
Yeah, exactly, and it's quite disheartening for people that post on LinkedIn. You know, you might get like whatever, a few hundred impressions, but you might get one like. So you think, oh, okay, my post must be crap. But then, like you said, a client might get in touch and say, oh, I love your posts, by the way. And you're like, oh, I'm glad somebody likes them. Wow, LinkedIn didn't tell me. You know, we have a question from Mark. Let me just reload my feed. 2 seconds. Mark has asked, does Constantine use Fathom to develop a SaaS metrics report for his clients?
Yes. For some of my customers, I use Fathom to do that unit economics. But I find that at some point, once a SaaS company becomes bigger, Fathom is not a good option to work out the unit economics. But it works. You need to do a lot of work around in Zero. You need to use the tracking categories to split the new ARR, the ARR from the recurring customers, in order to be able to use those formulas in Fathom and work out the unit economics. But I find a bit time consuming to do that. So I've done that for startups that are a bit lower in ARR, but now I landed actually a new customer which is bigger, and at the moment I work out all these unit economics in Excel. Actually, I use Google Spreadsheets.
Yeah, that's true. When I used to work for when I used to have a SaaS client, this would have been like maybe 3-4 years ago. That was the one thing that always frustrated me all the time. Just doing the unit economics, working everything out. It's a lot of manual kind of work sometimes that involved. One of the reasons why I like working with service clients, they send an invoice. You might have some deferred income. That's about it, really. Very, very easy to kind of work out the deferred income and your accruals, prepayments. So a lot kind of easier and cleaner usually on the finance things as opposed to a SaaS company. Let me just refresh the chat feed. Mark is also saying that he has seen a decrease in impressions also, but he had 2 posts with over 20K impressions. That's very good. Is that more than I've ever had in a post? I think it is. I can't remember what my maximum was. I think it was maybe something like 18, maybe 19. What's your maximum, Constantine?
Did Mark say 20K, 20,000?
Yeah, 20K.
That's the total impression I had, like probably for the last 15 posts.
To be honest, me too, because the LinkedIn algorithm is tanked. My last like 50 posts is probably the same, if not less, probably 1,000. I
There is one interesting thing I noticed about LinkedIn. I used to post to do my post in the morning, but sometimes I did it like afternoon, and I noticed that when I do afternoon, the people that likes my post are different than the ones that like my post in the morning.
Okay.
That's the one interesting thing I noticed.
Yeah, because there's a lot of kind of talk. We're kind of turning this into a LinkedIn session, but that's okay. We're on LinkedIn. One thing, like a lot of people debate, is whether you should post multiple times a day or not. And I've been monitoring a few creators who post twice a day. So literally, what you said there, they'll post maybe in the morning and they'll do a post in the evening. And I don't see their reach seeming to tank at all. They seem to be getting like, they're not huge creators or anything. They're probably similar, I don't know, maybe 8,000-9,000 followers. So we're not talking about like big accounts kind of thing. But posting a couple of times a day seems to work quite well for them. So it's interesting you said that different people like in the morning as opposed to the afternoon. So maybe I might experiment with that. I maybe try posting for a couple of weeks, maybe twice a day, and monitor the results. But then I guess it links back to the whole content creation thing. That's double the amount of work you've got to do on LinkedIn posts every single day. Unless you're using AI, of course, then hey, you can post 900 times a day and nobody cares. But it's a tricky one.
Another way to reach other people from your LinkedIn is actually to create a newsletter and add that post as an article in your newsletter, and again you will see different people liking your posts. One thing with a newsletter is that LinkedIn automatically sends invites to your newsletter. So once I created this newsletter, and a few weeks later I had like 600 subscribers, which I was
really.
But
wow.
I never sent an invitation to my newsletter. So basically, LinkedIn does this for you in order to motivate you to develop your newsletter. And once you do a newsletter, that article reaches people inbox. And then in the stats, you also see like what percentage of the emails were opened when this article was sent. So I think like these are some methods to reach different contacts in your LinkedIn. Because if you post like every morning, you will notice that same people like your post. So apparently, it seems like you reach the same people. But if you have like 7-8K connections, you want to reach like different groups of that audience.
Yeah, very interesting. I don't currently have a newsletter, and that sounds like a really good idea if you're getting like 600 or whatever subscribers, because that's a pretty good number of subscribers, and if they're getting a notification every time you're doing a post, that's actually quite a good way. So I'm actually right now I am opening my to-do list and I am adding a task: start a LinkedIn newsletter. Perfect. Well, I have learned something today because I did not know they were actually quite powerful. So I will definitely be using one for sure.
Perfect. I think it's worth testing.
Yeah, I would say anything is worth testing. We were having a little chat before we went live, and one of the comments I made was, yeah, marketing is just about constant experimentation, finding what works, and then sticking to what works, kind of thing. Here's a question in terms of marketing. How have you found cold outreach? So, do you do a lot of DMing people on LinkedIn, asking if they're interested in fractional CFO services? Do you do a lot of cold email? Do you do any cold calling? How do you find cold outreach?
So I learned a lot about cold outreach in the last 2 years. Cold emails used to work very good a year ago, but Google and Microsoft, they made some changes to their algorithm and stopped using it. So I remember 3 years and a half ago, when I started doing my fractional CFO business, I was doing only cold emails, and I was getting a lot of visitors on my website. So I was getting like 30, 40 visitors on my website, but a year later, I was getting like 1 or 2. So I think like cold emails in the last 2 years, is not that good anymore. I still do a lot of direct messages on LinkedIn. And one thing I learned about cold outreach is that when you send a message, you need to make sure that that message is very short and tell that lead what you want. because there is this idea where you should first educate the lead about what you do, but it doesn't really work. Like, you cannot educate someone just in 2-3 sentences. Just be high. Maybe the first message should be something tailored, but then the next sentence should be what you can offer, and ask them to jump on a video call. That's it. So I'm doing this like on a regular basis.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And in terms of educating people, like fractional CFO is very misunderstood by even finance professionals, never mind accountants. So I kind of see what you're getting at. It's very hard to educate somebody, especially just in cold outreach. You've never met them before. Hey, this is what a fractional CFO does, like 10 million word cold DM message. Would you like to work with me? They're just like, what does CFO stand for? You know, that kind of thing. Cool. Okay, let me just refresh our question feed to see if we have any further questions. I don't believe we do. I think we're good. So yeah, let's just call it an end to the stream, as we have no further questions. So this is going to LinkedIn Live, and it's also being live streamed to my YouTube, and it will be uploaded automatically after the call ends. So this will be available to rewatch if anybody would like to rewatch it. I think we were streaming the whole time, so I believe we were. So hopefully everybody caught the first kind of 15, 20 minutes. And thank you for hopping on, Konstantin. Very fun, good chat, and it would be great to get you again on in a future session. If you want to hop along, ask some questions, that would be great.
Yep, thank you everyone for listening to us.
Awesome. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have an awesome weekend. If you're going out on Halloween, make sure to scare lots of people. Have fun. And see you all next week, same time next week, 12:30 Friday.